It did not start as oppositional. So in the second half of the 19th century and even the beginning of the 20th century, many of the Islamist thinkers came from within the state, from within the very powerful religious institutions at that time that sought some sort of a compromise, some sort of marrying the traditional role of Islam in these societies, again in the Arab world, in Turkey, in Iran, with the waves of modernity that were coming from the West. So it came from within the ruling establishment, if you'd like, at least from within the traditionally influential establishments. But as the regimes gradually, across the entire wider Middle East, or the largest parts of the wider Middle East, became secular, Islamism became oppositional. And sometimes that opposition was peaceful, sometimes it became violent, sometimes it was assertive but not violent. But you can say in the last 50 or 60 years, before 2011, before the wave of uprisings that happened in the Arab world in 2011, for half a century, it was certainly oppositional. Yes, but there were different forms of suppression. So in some places, especially in North Africa, the suppression was by the state suppressing political Islamist groups, if you'd like. But in other parts, say in Turkey, there was that, but there was also ideological suppression in the sense of the state becoming top-down, secular. That was also somehow the idea of Arab nationalism, this grand wave in the 1960s and 70s, that some regimes of it absolutely did suppress the Islamists. But there was also ideological suppression, the idea that no, the role of religion should not be in politics, certainly should not be in legislation, for example, in a wide way, certainly should not be in the identity of the state. So the response of the state across the wider Middle East varied from crude suppression of Islamists to ideological opposition to what they are putting forward. And again, some of the secular ideas that came out or that were put forward in the wider Middle East, some of them were very successful for a period of time, such as Ataturk in Turkey, for example, such as Nasser in Egypt in the 1960s. Some of them were absolute failure. And again, part of that book is not just to look at what the Islamists put forward in the last 150 years, but also to discuss what the secular Arabs, the secular Turks and Iranians have tried to put forward in front of their societies as an alternative for the Islamist thinking.